Chandrayaan 3 is carrying the hopes, dreams and aspirations of 1.4 billion Indians to the moon. As the D-Day for the landing of Chandrayaan 3 inches closer and closer, the world is looking on in anticipation at this event. NewsX is continuing our exhaustive coverage on Chandrayaan 3 with a lofty goal. The stakes are certainly high, and if India achieves its objective, it will make a mark as the very first country to make a successful soft landing on the south pole of the moon's surface. Humanity's quest to understand the moon is not something new. Lunar missions have been conducted by various countries from the 1950s. In this millennium, as technology takes a quantum leap, humanity is seeking to unearth further secrets. We're opening out our call-in lines now, so you can tell us what you feel about Chandrayaan 3's imminent touchdown. Also ask any questions you may have to our experts on the program. You can also wish the scientists all the very best. Our numbers are going to be flashing there on your screens. I request our producers to put out our numbers for our viewers so they can call in and share their thoughts on this story. Meanwhile, let's take a look at some of the past lunar missions undertaken by different countries over the last few decades.
The moon is the Earth's only natural satellite. Its prominence in the night sky has inspired countless cultural references throughout human history, whether it be in art, mythology, poetry, prose, or calendar systems. Yet, this celestial body remains an enigma even today. Scientists across the world are attempting to gain a better understanding of the moon's origins, its geology, and other internal characteristics. In order to do so, over 140 lunar missions have been carried out. Of these, the Luna 2 mission of the erstwhile Soviet Union was the first to reach the lunar surface all the way back in September 1959. Its follow-up, the Luna 3, returned with the first images of the far side of the moon merely a month later. As the Soviets made strides in this sphere, a space race cropped up. The Americans began intensifying their efforts to catch up and overtake USSR. On 12 September 1962, the former US President John F. Kennedy made a rousing speech in Houston where he famously said, "We choose to go to the moon," which resonated with countless Americans.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
About 2 years later, in 1964, the Ranger 7 mission became the first space probe of the United States of America to successfully transmit close images of the lunar surface back to the Earth. But the USSR still had an edge. In fact, it demonstrated its capability to carry out crewed missions via sending 2 tortoises on board the Zone 6 spacecraft in September 1968. These tortoises were the first life forms from Earth to travel to and around the moon. As the Soviets and the Americans engaged in a stiff competition over the endeavor to land man on the moon, the US went on to taste victory in July 1969. The United States Apollo 11 mission achieved the first crewed landing on the moon. Often termed a giant leap for the mankind, this landmark accomplishment in human history consolidated the US position as a pioneer in the space sector. After this, the United States undertook 5 other crewed landings over a span of 4 years until 1972. But interest in lunar probes dwindled considerably over the 1970s and fizzled out entirely in the 1980s. The decade spanning the 80s registered a grand total of 0 moon missions. However, the fascination with Earth's only natural satellite renewed as Japan's Haiten spacecraft embarked on a mission in 1990. Even though Haiten's small orbiter Hagorobo suffered failure due to a transmission error, Japan became the 3rd country to reach the surface of the moon. Following this, a slew of other flyby missions were conducted, a large majority of which were led by NASA. Subsequently, with the dawn of the new millennium, other crucial players entered the space arena. Out of these, the European Space Agency's Smart 1 mission was launched in 2003. After orbiting the moon for 3 years, it was deliberately crashed onto the surface in September 2006. The China National Space Administration's Chang'e 1 mission, which was launched in October 2007, observed the moon for a little over a year. But a true breakthrough was accomplished by India's Chandrayaan 1 mission. Envisioned in 1999, the former Prime Minister of India, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, announced the Chandrayaan-1 project during his Independence Day speech from the ramparts of the Red Fort on 15th of August 2003.
विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में भारत एक ऊंची उड़ान लेने के लिए तैयार है। मुझे ये बताने में बड़ी खुशी हो रही है कि सन 1908 से पहले भारत चंद्रमा पर अपना अंतरिक्ष यान भेजेगा। इसका नाम होगा चंद्रयान प्रथम।
The probe was launched in October 2008 in consonance with the scheduled timeline. The mission lasted 312 days and discovered water ice on the moon. A milestone achievement for humanity, it opened doors to better understand the nature as well as the origin of the moon. A follow-up to this, Chandrayaan-2 mission was launched a decade later in 2019. This was an ambitious attempt to land at the moon's south pole. However, due to a technical error, the lander crashed. But this did not deter the team of scientists at the Indian Space Research Organization. Now, 4 years later, India's third lunar mission inches closer to the lunar surface and carries with it the aspirations of 1.4 billion Indians. If India achieves its objective, it will make a mark as the very first country to make a successful soft landing on the south pole of the moon's surface. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Professor W. Selvamurthy, former DRDO, is joining us live. We also have Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran, former Indian Air Force officer, joining us live. Also with us is, okay, we are also, of course, going to be opening it out to our viewers as well. In fact, we already have a viewer joining us. Akhil Das is calling in from Odisha. Akhil, please go ahead.
Namaskar.
Ji, Akhil.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Namaskar, Akhil. Boliye.
My question is that where is the Sarabhai crater? We Indians should know a crater is named after Vikram Sarabhai. We Indians should see the picture of that Sarabhai crater, and recently another crater has been named after our famous celebrity Jasraj. So we Indians should see the picture of both the craters, and why ISRO is not trying to land it on that Sarabhai crater? This is my question.
Okay, let me try and bring in Wing Commander Sudhakaran to answer that. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, I don't know if you managed to catch the viewer's question there. He is asking about whether we'll get to know details about those craters which have Indian names, and why didn't the ISRO try and land the satellite close to them?
We have to understand that this mission is not for rhetorics. It is not about naming or owning the name. Indian philosophy, Indian spiritualism, Indian science has never been about copywriting or owning something. It's about learning, it's about seeking, it's about exploring. So if the scientists have decided to land in a certain place, it's for a certain mission. It's not about putting my name there or writing your glory to the Hall of Fame. That's not the idea behind our science. Our science, specifically after 2014, in the last 10 years, we are talking about achieving something tangible. So we must keep all these, this fetish for certifications, fetish for name and fame aside. We must invest in real science, in real knowledge and real wisdom. So why is ISRO landing there? Because ISRO's mission demands so. That's about it. Beyond that, if there is any reason, I am not aware. Second is, should we do what the Americans and the Westerners do? We should not. Our culture has never been about copywriting. Let's follow it that way. We are Vishwa Gurus. A guru is the one who leads the people, shows them path, and they do it without any expectations. India has been a Vishwa Guru for eons, and we continue to do so. When Narendra Modi today talks about the leader of being global south, we don't expect anything from those countries. We want to give to them. Why should we give to them? Because we are born to give. We are not born to take. The Western civilization is all about taking. It's like a parasite. They suck the place that they go dry. And that's where our new culture that we follow blindly from them, we suck the Mother Earth today and then we talk about climatic change. So, keeping these things in perspective, I hope I have answered the question that it is all about giving, it's all about seeking, it's all about exploring. So if ISRO has chosen a space, if it is decided to land in a place, it's not for name and fame.
All right. Well, our other viewers also can continue to call in. We will keep taking your calls live on the program. But let me also bring in Professor Selvamoorthy. Professor Selvamoorthy, your anticipation of the soft landing tomorrow, what will be the last minute checks and balances that will be on at the ISRO headquarters right now? And also, how big an achievement will this be when finally that landing happens, particularly putting this in context with the other global missions to the moon that we just showed our viewers?
Thank you. We are just inching towards the historic moment when India will be the first nation to land in the southern part of the moon, which we have chosen consciously because of the reasons of scientific importance and the complexity of the mission. India always looks for adventures. So this mission, I am very confident that this will become successful because the mission was designed in terms of the whole design is failure addressing design. That means what glitches we had in the Chandrayaan 2, we had the whole design, redundancy, everything is built to address this failure which we had in Chandrayaan 2, which was in the last glitch, I'll say 95% success, but then the last part, soft landing, could not be made for certain reasons, software glitches, and also some of the variables which could not be anticipated when the intelligence being given to that 15 minutes terror where the lander has to really make decisions, quick decisions, and then make corrective measures. So all these have been corrected. Now some of the changes which ISRO has made, the landing legs have been made very strong, robust. This has been tested several times. Then the landing velocity tolerance has been increased. Earlier it used to be the 2 meters per second tolerance. That was the velocity with which the lander will land. That was the tolerance limit, but this time they have expanded to 3 meters per second. So this will also give a tolerance for the system, the whole system, and system of systems to adjust to that. Then also if the landing decision is made at that time by lander, by its auto intelligence given, it can choose a different location to land. So this also is possible because we have the fuel content in this lander has been increased so that it can traverse a longer distance and then land on a safe place. So the redundancy again has been built. Then the laser Doppler velocity meter, which is looking at the lunar terrain. So this again, there are 3 velocity vectors, X, Y, Z. So this will again decide very precisely where the safe place to land. So then the landing part, earlier it used to be the error of probability or that was only about 500 meters by 500 meters, the landing. But now that has been expanded to 4 kilometer to 3.5 kilometers. It's a huge area. So that is why then the additional solar panels on the surface of the lander, which will also increase the power requirement. So these are some of the things which have been done. And with all this, I'm sure the testing, now the health of the whole system, every components, devices, the payloads, everything is working very well, precisely. The ISRO scientists are working round the clock. And so they are all very happy with the so far progress which has been made in this mission. So the reliability of ISRO scientists, as we have seen in the earlier system, as you showed earlier, how the ISRO has evolved from 1962, this is only a short period within which ISRO has made leaps and bounds. When you look at the advanced countries where they have spent a lot of money, as well as taken time to achieve this level of excellence, but our Indian scientists have been able to achieve it in such a short time with a minimal input. So I would always say that is the power of Indian intellect, that you give minimal input, they will maximize the output and outcome. So this is the power. So I'm very, very confident that this Chandrayaan-3 mission will be very successful to advance things which happened yesterday, the important milestone. And we were able to connect with the orbiter which is there, that is Chandrayaan-2. So we are able to connect so that you have a communication redundancy also now. Because normally the lander communicate with the ISDN and then also to the ground station and also to the rover which is inside. So now this redundancy will also ensure the signal communication from ground station if they want to do before they go into auto descent. You will be able to communicate with the lander in a very precise manner. So with all this which have been done, I am very, very confident that this mission will be successful, and we will put our Indian flag, the tricolor flag. Our rover will carry and then move on the surface of the moon, at least for one lunar day, which is 14 days in the Earth. So this will happen, and they will do a lot of experiments. See, more importantly, that it is just not only landing, that is the first challenge. Then more important is to rover to come out, and then with all its payload, which we have to understand the atmosphere and surface qualities, terrain, seismicity, and also the elemental analysis, chemical analysis, which will be done, which will indicate not only the origin of the moon, how the moon itself came into existence as a natural satellite, because in this other part, one is temperature. We will be encountering a temperature of about minus 238. That is a freezing cold. So in this condition, your systems should work. So the systems have been ruggedized in such a way that at those temperatures which will be encountered by the lander as well as the rover and the sensor payloads have also been ruggedized to those conditions. Then this is the condition in which in the southern pole, many of the things would have been preserved because of the sub-zero temperatures of that magnitude. You will be able to understand how this actually moon came into existence, whether the life is there, life has been preserved, whether the fossils are there. So we will be the experiments will be related to the elemental analysis, like mineral analysis, atmospheric analysis. So all this will provide a wealthy data, and this technology will also be proven, validated. How do we do a soft landing? Because when you have to put a human being into the moon, then you need to have that kind of soft landing capability. So we will be validating, the Indian scientists will be validating this capability of soft landing in a complex environment where the magnetic fields and the gravitational force and the cosmic radiations. So all this, right from materials technology to propulsion, control, guidance, navigation, payload integration, payload separation, and also the computational capability to precisely do these maneuvers, and the communication, data communication from ground to the lunar surface.
Yes.
All these are complicated, and we just only see the rocket or a lander moving around. But there's a lot of rocket science which go into that.
Absolutely. Let's bring in another viewer now. Ananta Swami is calling in from Bengaluru. Ananta Swami, please go ahead.
Yes, my hearty congrats and wishes for our Tiranga on the moon. There's Luna 2 moon mission.
Okay. Thank you, Ananthaswamy, for joining us with your wishes there for the Tiranga on the moon. Let me bring in Wing Commander Sudhakaran once again back on the broadcast. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, why do you believe a soft landing has been chosen, is being emphasized on? And also, ahead of that, right now, what are the last-minute checks, balances that you believe are going on at ISRO headquarters, also with the weather and temperature and conditions fluctuating at the moon? How soon or how close to the landing do you believe a final call will be taken on whether that will continue to be the chosen time and date?
So for me to answer that, I would need to have a real-time environmental picture of the lunar space that where ISRO is planning to land, which I unfortunately don't have. So whatever I would be saying would be in the realm of speculation, and I would like to avoid that. But having said that, this soft landing, we have discussed this, even Dr. Selvamurthy has very clearly amplified the need for that, because we will need to control the descent space. Apart from this, I will reiterate once again that the LHDAC uses data on the topography of the landing site to assess the risks of landing, and that is something that it will continue to do dynamically as the Chandrayaan, the Vikram lander descends down onto the lunar space, because we are continuously getting images from there. It is being assessed in real time, and the LHDAC team is continuously at it doing it. The second most important thing is, because the southern pole is known to have a slightly varied gravitational field, which is of very critical importance when it comes to the stability of the landing area. The third thing is the soil composition. One of the reasons why we are attempting the soft landing is you don't want to bring up too much of dust, in the process of landing, which could actually hit your solar panels, which means that the ability for it to directly charge itself and then ensure that the power pack can deliver the required energy to the system. This has to be looked into, and that's why they would be technically switching off the retro rockets and then actually, trying to attempt a silent landing without, causing much of disturbance.
Okay.
The last important factor is the radiation level. The radiation level also, can give thermal shocks, can actually put most of the sensors, though you have factored in most of it, but then, these are alien planets wherein, situations could not be, like what you programmed it to be, because unlike the Earth, the moon doesn't have a protective layer to control all these things. So these will be the factors which will be looked into by the lander as well as the LHDAC team, which will be helping the mission achieve its success. So anything related to this will be the last minute checks that they will be.
Absolutely. Let's bring in another viewer. Soumya Churan is calling in from Kerala.
Hello. I just want to convey my best wishes for safe and soft landing. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Soumya Churan, for joining us there from Kerala, conveying your best wishes to Team ISRO.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.